My brothers and sisters, I don't know about you, but I found that when I'm on some kind of committee or I'm involved in some group with a particular goal or task to accomplish, I find that that committee or that group works best if, one, it works as a team, but secondly, if that team has a leader, and that everybody else on the team falls into that vision, and then that the leader proposes, and then figures out based on that vision what it is and how to go, and then figure out the way to proceed. So that having a leader is most important in the group. And if a group has like lots of little leaders, then getting to the goal isn't as easy. Have you ever had some kind of experience like that? Fortunately, for us as Christians, as Roman Catholic Christians, we have a leader that we can just always follow. Indeed, there are other leaders in our life that we may have to submit to some degree to give our life and our society some sense of direction. But we can also judge those leaders by the leader that we truly follow, namely Jesus Christ, who today tells us that he is the Good Shepherd. And there is great significance to Jesus telling us that he is the Good Shepherd. Because Jesus himself is telling us today in the first part of the 10th chapter of John, how even in Jesus' day, there were like many leaders. And all of these leaders had some legitimate claim to authority. You know, like the Pharisees, they once saved the people of Israel from like disappearing and being totally absorbed into a Greek culture when the Greeks were spreading their influence throughout the world. The Pharisees saved the people of Israel. And they have had, because of that, some legitimate claim to authority. But these Pharisees were not descendant from the dynasty of David, from the family of David. The legitimate role of a leader for the people of Israel needed to come from David's line. There was another group, like there was the king that Israel actually had. This king, like in the line of King Herod, was a king who became a king more because of political manipulations and dealings with Rome, which was a totally other problem of leadership, that the king became king because of these manipulations. Again, not appointed by God or in the line of David. Now, the people of Israel saw God as a God who leads them and sustains them as a shepherd. That's what we hear in today's 23rd Psalm. God leads, God protects, God feeds. God does everything that a people need for the abundance of life. So God was seen as a shepherd. King David, the line of this leadership for Israel, David, if we remember, was a shepherd. And so David was like this shepherd king. He knew how to shepherd, he was appointed by God, and he could therefore lead the people of Israel in the style of God, which is that of a shepherd. Well, all of this seemed to have been lost by Jesus' day, and all of the leaders of Israel had some kind of authority, had some kind of claim to leadership, but they weren't like the true leader. And a lot of these leaders, because they weren't true leaders, were like kind of taking their own selves out to pastures and kind of not really worrying about the flock. And Jesus says that, all of these other leaders, they came to steal, they came to kill, they came to destroy, and they didn't clamp any kind of leadership by entering in and out of the gate the proper way, like always climbing a fence like a thief. So having first berated all of these other leaders, then Jesus makes the claim that he is the good shepherd. First, he starts out by saying, as we hear in today's gospel, that he is the gate for the shepherds, because all of the shepherds had a common place where all of their sheep would go for safety and security. And then in the morning, each shepherd would come and call their sheep. That's why the sheep would know the shepherd's voice, and only the sheep that recognized the shepherd's voice would go out of the gate. But the person guarding the gate was somebody agreed upon by all the shepherds to let the right one in and out. And so Jesus is first saying that he's like the gate, he's like the gatekeeper, he's the one that's going to let people in and out. Legitimate leaders. But then he goes on to say he is the good shepherd. And although we don't hear him actually saying that in today's gospel, it is further on in that 10th chapter of John, we do see how the early church responded to Jesus as this good shepherd. As Peter responding, even in today's letter, as the shepherd who is the guardian of our souls. And that Jesus would follow that, and that if we follow the path of Jesus, that we would have abundant life, as Jesus promises in the 10th chapter of John. But this path is no easy path, for we're living in the world as it is and not in the world as we would like it to be as we follow Jesus. And as we follow Jesus, we need to accept the world as it is in love in order to get others to follow us, to follow Jesus. That's where this suffering patience comes in that Peter is talking about. It is no easy path, but it is through the difficulties of life that Jesus wishes to lead us if we wish to follow Jesus. Jesus says, as the good shepherd, that I walk in front of the sheep and then the sheep follow me. Makes sense. But there is also this saying that a leader without followers is just a guy or a gal going for a walk. My brothers and sisters, if we are in a relationship with Jesus, this relationship with Jesus is not such a warm and fuzzy feeling necessarily. And if we're actually following Jesus, it probably isn't so warm and probably isn't so fuzzy. But it's going to lead us to the fullness of life. And if we are going to follow Jesus, we're going to follow Jesus not because Peter says he's the shepherd, but because Jesus himself says, I am the shepherd. I am one appointed by God. I, in fact, am God. And that I am in the line of David. So I am like the real thing. I'm the real leader. I'm the leader, the definite article. So if we're going to be in this relationship with Jesus and follow Jesus, we first have to believe that what he says is true. He's not just making this up. He's not just some kind of wacko. He's not some kind of con man, but he truly is the Son of God, and he is the Good Shepherd. And if we do believe, not just agree, if we truly believe that he is who he says he is, this Good Shepherd, then how do we adjust our lives then to follow this Good Shepherd? So that's the question that is always before the church, and as the church before you and me. First of all, do we truly believe Jesus at his word? That he is God, that he is the good shepherd, and that if we truly follow him the way of the cross, that we will have the fullness and abundance of life. Not just spiritually, but materially as well. You know, he's feeding people. I mean, it's not just some kind of spiritual high. This is a quality of life that we can have in this resurrection reality that we can follow Jesus into. Do we believe him? And what would our life look like if we do follow him? Do we follow the Christ and adjust our lives accordingly? Or does Jesus just become a man going for a walk? That is the question before us. And the third part of this, the corollary, is that what would a church, a parish, in particular Prince of Peace, look like if we together as a flock follow the Good Shepherd, believe who he says he is, and adjust our lives collectively to reflect this belief that we have? You know, when Peter was talking about this to the crowds, they were like cut to the heart. They were saying, what are we supposed to do? So what are we supposed to do? Do you believe that Christ is the Good Shepherd, our leader, our Savior? Do we really want to follow him because we believe? And if we really want this, what does it look like? What do all of us contribute? Not to make our lives better, but the parish life thriving, to show that presence of God, to be different from everybody else, in a way that everybody else will want to be like us, and invite them to follow Christ as well. Jesus says, I am the Good Shepherd. I am from God. I've been sent by God so that you may follow me and have abundant life. My brothers and sisters, as we gather before the Eucharist, we are posed with this question. Do we believe? Will we follow? And what will that follow look like?